Under phylum of Chordata, there is only one subphylum that include the group of vertebrate that is known as Subphylum Vertebrata. So, Subphylum Vertebrata, the member is known as the vertebrates, can be distinguished from other chordates by having the backbone over here or known as vertebral column. So there are four trends found in vertebrate that cause animal evolution, which are the first one is vertebrae, the jaws, the fins, and also the lungs and the circulatory system. So let's look further about these evolutions, these four trends of evolution. First is that a series of bony and hardened segments that called as the vertebrae over here will replace the single and continuous notochord that can be found in the subphylum of Eurochordata and also Cephalochordata. And it is part of skeleton that will cause animal in the subphylum vertebrate to possess a backbone. Next is evolutions of the jaws. So parts of the vertebrae become modified near the head to form a jaw. So jaws evolve from a series of structural support for the gill slits. Next is fins for fishes. So the fin of fishes will start the starting point for the leg, the arms, the wings, that's seen among the higher vertebrates. And in some land age, the fleshy vitreous fins had skeleton here. They had a skeleton support that are forerunner of the limbs. Okay, and gradually they will rest less reliance on the gills. Okay, and they are more on the lung and also the circulatory system, the closed circulatory system, which work in connection. So this circulatory system is more efficient, accompanied by the evolutions of the lung. And there are some of the examples under the subphylum vertebra. The first one is conodons. Okay, conodon is extinct already, in which it possess a mineralized mouth part, and at the anterior end of the mouth here, they had a set of a bark hook. They had a hook that made of mineralized dental tissues. Okay, as you can see over here, it's not so clear. This one. Okay, they have a hook on their mouth. Next is netosomes. So netosome is a jaw fishes that already extinct. They do possess a jaw, in which netosome jaw evolved from skeletal rod that previously supported by the gill slit, in which the remaining gill slits remain as the major site for the gas exchange. So in this netosome, the body element reinforced by the notochord and a pair of fins that will help to stabilize the body. Okay, another example is Plechodon. Plechodon also the jawfish, in which they are very successful in meeting the challenges of life in water, which is about 800 times denser than the air. So this adaptation caused them to become the successful species with high diversity, in which that their streamlined body will allow easy movement through the dense medium of water by reducing the friction. Okay. Next is that plechodon. Okay, that make the characteristic that make them successful is that the tail muscles in plechodon are organized for powerful propulsive force, which is referred to the posternal force, posternal tail, and also for very powerful for the forward motion that useful to escape or to chase the prey. So as for bottom dwellers, such as the ray fish, okay, a flattened body is beneficial for them to hide, okay, on the ground. Next is that their swim bladder. The swim bladder of plechodon provide buoyancy for the body. So this organ is adjustable in order to maintain the buoyancy at different densities. Okay, next chondrocytes, in which three examples or the group of chondrocytes that we will discuss later are sharks, scat and ray, and also chimera. So these chondrocyte, okay, chondrocyte, the fishes with skeleton of cartilage, they do not have lack of bones, okay, and cartilaginous fishes possess a streamlined body with cartilaginous endoskeleton, gill slits, the fins, and small scales here on the body surface. So the small scales here known as the placoid scales, okay, that look like a tooth structure. So the mouths also contain a similar but larger scale that develop into teeth. And the respiration for chondrocytes is solely through the gills, and this group include, as I mentioned earlier, sharks, cat rays, and also chimera. The first group of chondrocytes is that the shark. Sharks are formidable predator with their powerful jaw and teeth that are replaceable and can move from back to the front. They have well-developed sense organ that can able them to locate the prey in water because of the electroreceptor on the shark head. So this electroreceptor will detect the weak electrical signal from the muscular activity of other animals. Okay. And how about scat and rays? Scat and rays under the chondrocyte also live in the ocean's bottom, where they will feed on the shell invertebrate with their flattened teeth. Some of them can jolt the prey with electricity or sting them with a venomous tail spine over here. There you can see the spine. For chimera, okay, still under the chondrocyte, chimera feed mostly on the molars, and they have a venom glands in front of the dorsal fin, and they are almost scaleless, as you can see over here, lack of scales, with a bulky body and slanted tail that resembling a rat, thus giving them a common name that known as a rat fish because they look like a rat. Okay. Next, examples of fish that have a jaw that known as osteocytes. So osteocytes are fishes with skeletons of bone. Okay, they have bones compared to chondrocyte uh, that have a cartilage. So osteocyte, the fishes with skeleton of bone, in which this bone have advantage over cartilage because it could provide a very strong support compared to cartilage and serve as a storage sites for calcium. And respiration happens solely through gills, and bony fishes like osteocytes can be divided into three types. The first one is the ray fin, lobfin fishes, and also lungfishes. So let's look more detailed on the three types of bony fishes or osteocytes. The first one is ray fin fishes. So most of the bony fishes are ray fin fishes, in which their highly minerable fins are supported by ray that originate from the dermis, and this actinopterygian fin ray attached directly to the proximal or basal skeletal element, which represent the links or connection between the fins and also their internal skeleton. For lobfin fishes, still under osteocytes, lobfin fishes bear fleshy extension with some skeletal element on their ventral fin. As you can see over here, they have a skeleton, and the fish's fleshy fin are about the same size, okay, same structure, and their positions as the limb of the tetrapod. So later this one will be evolved to become the limbs of tetrapod of the amphibians. Last but not least is the lungfishes. So lungfishes, they have gills and one or a pair of lungs that are modified gut wall out poaching. So therefore, lungfishes they need to go to the surface and gulp the air. They would drown if they keep very long time underwater. Okay, they have a separate circuit for blood also to the lung to increase the efficiency of gas exchange. So next, we already learned about animal evolutions, invertebrate, and also some of the examples. Now we're gonna look on the rise of the amphibians, which is also under the subphylum of vertebrate. So amphibians, or that known as tetrapods, the meaning to say they have four legs. The amphibians are the first successful land vertebrates, and they have either four legs or four-leg aquatic ancestor tetrapod, in which that come from the osteocytes. Amphibians also have a body plan and mode of reproduction somewhere between the fishes and also the reptiles. They do not belong to the fishes and they do not belong to the reptiles, but they have their own group, which is the amphibians. And life on land presented new challenges to the emerging amphibians, which bring to the pro and also to the con sides. So let's look on the pros for amphibian in shifting from aquatic to terrestrial habitat. So water availability was not reliable, therefore they are drought season where the water could dry out. So the amphibian they could not rely much on the aquatic habitat due to this condition. Next is that air was richer source of oxygen. So this caused the amphibian lungs and also the circulatory system to be modified in a way that they could enhance the oxygen intake for the body. And also another pros in shifting to terrestrial habitat is the new habitat, including a vast array of plants necessitate keener sensory input, and in which the terrestrial habitat have an abundance of insect as the food for the amphibian, and also therefore their brain region concerned with the interpreting and also responding to sensory input that being expanded. However, there is a cons to in shifting from aquatic to terrestrial habitat, in which the first one is that air temperature were variable, and also the air itself on the terrestrial habitat was not the strong supporting medium as the water. Okay, so next let's look more details on the characteristics of amphibian. All of the amphibian they have bony endoskeleton and usually have four legs, and they also undergo metamorphosis, in which is refer to the physical changes from the larva stage to adults. And some existing amphibians spend their entire life in water. Others shed their eggs into water, which is also home to a free swimming larva stage. And this species also adapted to life on land, either lay their egg in moist places or also a few cases, they protect the embryo, as you can see in figure here, during the development inside the most moist adult body. So amphibian also, depending on their habitat, can respire by the use of gills when they are in water or lung when they are on land, but they still depend on the skin and pharyngeal lining for the gas exchange. So their skin needs to be moist all of the time. Okay, so the respiratory surfaces must be kept moist for gas exchange, in which the dry skins can easily in the air due to the fact that um, they are exposed to the hot temperature. Therefore, they have not escaped from water dependency fully. Okay, so the skin of amphibian usually thin and sometimes supplied with glands that will provide toxin. So let's look on the order under the amphibians, in which we will discuss about the order of Anura, order of Apoda, and also order Urodela. But first, we're gonna look on the order Anura under amphibians. For an example, it's referred to the frogs and also toads. So and toads are distinctive with their long limbs here that will help them to be capable in jumping into the air and also barrel through the water. So the success on land is due to the excellent prey grasping capability of the tongue, okay, that attach at the front of the mouth. Of course, the tongue is in front of the mouth, right? So, in order to protect them from diverse pathogens in aquatic habitat, they also have a mucus gland, poison gland, and also antibiotic at their skin. So, the poisonous species usually they have a bright color warning coloration so that the predator will go away from them. Okay, next is under amphibians, also order Apoda. The member is known as the Caecilians. So this Caecilian are shaped like the earthworm, or they look like the eel, and they have a segmented body. Most of them are between 4 to 15 inches long and up to 1 inch in diameter. They live burrow in the moist or swampy forest floor, in which they will hunt for invertebrate prey like insect larvae and also the termites. Caecilians also do not have limbs, but they have a small scale that embedded in the skin and that helps in the burrowing act. So they also lost their sight, meaning to say they cannot see, but they will use their sense of touch and smell to find the earthworm and also other insect for food. Some aquatic species of Caecilians use electric cues for protect themselves. Next order under amphibian is order Urodela. Example is a salamander. So when salamander walk, the body will bend from side to side like the fish moving through the water. So therefore, scientists conclude that they might evolve from fish due to their movement. Okay, so adult salamander may retain larva features such as the external gill, like the axolotls here, okay, and also included among salamander are newts. So we already look on the fish and also the amphibians. So let's look on the rise of the amniotes. Okay, the rise of the amniotes, in which it refers to the organism that produce the shell egg. Okay, remember, amphibian does not produce a shell egg. They does produce egg, but not protected in the shell. So the evolutions of reptiles from ancestral amphibians, they depends on their adaptation to become completely terrestrial, in which the evolutions of the amniotic egg is extremely important for the reptile, apes, and also the mammals. Okay, in which this is because it allow them to lay their eggs in the terrestrial habitat. So let's look further on the amniotic eggs that produced by the amniotes. So the reptilian amniotic eggs is a critical evolutionary development for terrestrial animals, now also characteristic of birds and some mammals, in which the developing embryo is protected from drying out so they can survive outside the water and in a variety of habitat due to the existence of the amniotic fluid inside the egg. And also the egg yolk will provide the embryo, developing embryo with food. Meanwhile, the egg albumin will help to supply water and nutrient for the developing embryo. And the waste from the egg will be released to the allantois, which refer to the extensions of the embryonic guts, and also oxygen diffuse easily through the thin outer shell of the egg, it's in which it is a passage to the embryo regulated by the chorion. Okay, so let's look on the four adaptation of amniotes, okay, the organism that produce the shell egg to escape themselves from water dependency. Okay, so first they produce amniotic egg with covering membranes and a shell which allow the eggs to be laid in dry habitat. Okay, so this egg contain the amniotic fluid, so they refer to the membrane that form a fluid-filled sac to the embryo. Therefore, it is similar to watery environment. The fluid similar to the watery environment that ancestral amphibian eggs develop, and also the amniotic egg can cushion embryo. They help to conserve water and metabolically support them by providing the egg yolk and also the albumin. Therefore, they can reproduce successfully from the aquatic habitat. Next adaptations of amniotes is that they have tough and dry scaly skin. So amniotes have a toughened, dry and scaly skin that is resistant to drying. Therefore, they don't have to repeatedly immerse themselves into the water to get wet, okay, to get moist. They also possess a rib cage like human that will allow ventilations, causing breathing through the skin abundantly for the body. Next adaptations to escape from water independence, to escape the water dependency is that their copulatory organ that permits internal fertilization. So this will allow the sperm to be deposited straight into the female body, and it will help to eliminate needs for water medium as water fertilization. And also, most of the amniotes they possess kidney for water conservation. Okay, so that they does not depends on the water environment, because they have a pair of kidney that are very good at conserving water in controlled way inside the body, and to avoid the excessive of the water loss, the water will be reabsorbed at the kidney. Okay, so let's look on the first group of amniotes, which is reptiles. So reptiles demonstrate certain advantageous features compared to amphibians. So modification into whale jaw bones and formidable teeth allow them to apply sustain and crushing force on prey, and also the limb bones were better, okay, in supporting the body trunk on the land. So development of the cortex regions of the cerebrum permit also greater integrations of sensory and motor response. So this causing the reptiles to have more complex behavior compared to the amphibian. And also reptiles have four-chambered heart, meaning to say they possess two atrium and also two ventricle on their in their heart, that allow the two separate circuit for oxygen rich and also oxygen blood to and from the lungs. So this causes us for human, we also have four-chambered heart, have more to have more efficient circulatory system. And also reptiles have more efficient lungs, making gas exchange across skin like amphibians are fully abandoned in reptiles. So reptiles does not depend on the skin for the gas exchange. So let's look on the 5 groups of reptiles, which are tuaturas, the turtle, lizard, snake, and crocodiles. But first, we're gonna look on the tuaturas. So tuaturas resemble lizard. However, they are more evolutionary. So, like lizard, tuaturas have a third eye beneath the skin with a retina, a lens, and nerves to the brain. So, these eyes register changes in their length and light intensity. So, only two species that remain today, which live in the island of the shore of the New Zealand, that in which refer these tortoises can only be found in the New Zealand, okay, not in other places. Next example of reptile is turtle. So the existing species of turtle live inside a shell that is attached to the skeleton. So whenever the turtle feels threatened, they will pull their head and limb inside of the shell to protect themselves. So the distinctive shell also offer the protection while conserving water and the body heat for them. And turtles, they lay eggs on land where predation is very high, including human that eat the turtle egg, making the turtle on the brink of extinction. So do not eat the egg turtle, okay? Next example of reptiles is lizard. So lizard are small body insect eater in which their usual habitat are at the desert and also tropical forests. So large size Komodo monitor lizard is big enough to capture a young buffalo. And chameleon rely on accurate flick, as you can see over here, of the very sticky prey capturing tongue, which is much longer than compared to the body. So lizards are also prey for many other animals, but are quick in movement that have a unique ability to sever their own tails if a predator grabs it. This one is referred to the lizard that you can find easily in your house. Next group of reptiles is snake. So snakes are limbless. They do not have limb but retain vestige of hind limb for some species, and they are very excellent predator with the ability to swallow their prey that larger compared to themselves. And due to the flexible skull, they have a flexible skull and jaw bones that can be opened very big, and some of the fang type snake can subdue their prey with the venom, like the pitons, in which the python will coil around the prey and suffocate them. And also they can break the bone of the prey. Next is under the group of reptiles also crocodiles. So crocodiles and alligator all live or they all live in water or near the water, in which the crocodilian adjust their body temperature with behavioral and also physiological mechanism. They resemble birds in displaying a very complex social behavior where the parents will guard their nest and assist hatchling into the water. So we already learned about the amphibians. We already learned about the reptiles. Next, we're gonna look on the second group of amniotes, which is the birds. The birds, they evolve from reptiles, and reptiles evolve from the amphibians. Okay, so birds apparently evolved from the reptiles during Jurassic period, thought that to evolve from a small bipedal theropod dinosaur. So the oldest bird known as the Archaeopteryx. So Archaeopteryx here, this one resemble reptiles because in limb bones they have a limb bones here, okay, and also they have an avian thread like in which they possess a long tail, also the feather. So they are eight flying adaptations in bird. The first one is that their body is covered with feather, in which this feather is modified from the reptilian scale, and this feather is very helpful for them to fly and also for the body insulation, in which the feather help in insulation by conserving metabolically generate heat when temperature is declined, and also it will help for the water conservation. Next is the lightweight bone of the birds. This lightweight bones, their bone of the birds are very light due to the existence of the hollow air cavity, as you can see here, hollow air cavities within them. So this will help them to decreasing their weight, for them to fly, and also help them to in the flying process. Next is the sternum. Okay, here the sternum at the abdomen. So the sternum is also enlarged in order to increase the surface area for attachment of the flight muscle on the wings, in which the powerful muscles, okay, which refer to the wings, are attached at the strategic place on the bones for aiding in flying process. And also the spreading of the wings. Okay, the birds will spread out their long feeders for a downstroke, and this action increase the size of surface pushing against the air. Okay, so that they can keep floating on the air. So on the upstroke, the bird will fold the feeder, thus it will present the least possible resistance to the air. And also the shapes of the wing, the shape of the wing that is called as the airfoil. As the airfoil move through the air, as you can see here, the air will goes below, and this one will decrease the resistance. And the neck and the tail of the bird is usually shortened to improve the maneuverability. And the heart also four-chamber heart like human, and the lungs are connected to the elastic sac. So this heart, besides helping in heat dissipation, the elastic sac, okay, the elastic sac of the lungs also help in enhancing the oxygen uptake, and the enhanced oxygen uptake is very crucial to support high rates of metabolism to sustain the flying activity of the birds. And also the cerebellum and optic lobes are large. So large cerebellum will coordinate. This cerebellum is very important for movement. It will coordinate the movement in flying animals. And meanwhile, the larger optic lobe is used to govern their eyesight, in which is very important for them to sense during flying. So birds also excrete their nitrogenous waste in a semi-solid uric acid form. So this semi-solid uric acid form, beside conserving water, help to conserve water. Their frequent excretions, also decrease their body weight, and this adaptation is beneficial for flying. Okay.